My name is Quill Taylor, and I have taken it upon myself to record my findings pertaining to the life of a young boy named Anthony Todd.
And so the authors from 1345 can be found upstairs and to the left, near the small desk. You know the one.
Yes, I understand.
And then the
I
books from 1415 can be found on the shelf 2 rows down, because in between there's a collection of fiction from that time. And, you know, it doesn't exactly fit the non-fiction...
Liv.
Sorry, did you have a question?
Yes, the one I asked you when I entered?
Oh, yes, about the book. History of Moorgrove, was it?
That's the one.
I don't have that book right now. I can let you know if we have it next time you come in.
Yes, you said. I was hoping you could tell me why the copy, which I returned to the library a while ago, ended up underground in a stone coffin?
Books can manage to take us away, can't they?
No, I mean, yes, they can, but I'm serious. I found it in a stone coffin.
Oh, thank you.
Wait, but
I'm sorry, but I can't help you. I don't keep track of what our visitors decide to do with the books as long as they aren't broken and are returned.
Did someone come and check out History of Moorgrove after I returned it?
No, I don't think so.
Can I have it back?
Oh, would you like to check it out again?
Yeah, I'd like to check it out again, please.
Great. Here you go. It's due 2 weeks from now.
Right. Thanks.
Find anything out?
No.
Oh, Essa! Or is it Sasha today? I always forget.
It's Essa today, Liv. Thanks for asking.
Of course. It's good to see you, actually. Abby mentioned that we should get together again soon and talk about...
Good idea. We will definitely have to talk soon.
Talk about what?
Well,
Just to talk. We talk about... things. Liv is an old friend, see, and Abby and I like to visit sometimes.
That's true. It's very enjoyable. I'm free tonight, actually, if you and Abby wanted to stop by. You could even bring that serious butler of yours. I'm sure he'd like to get out of the house.
I'll ask him. Quill, if you haven't found anything out?
Yeah, I'll talk to you soon, Liv. Thanks for the book.
Never a problem. Come by any time. I'll be here.
I will, for sure. Might even come by tonight.
Actually...
Oh, that's a lovely idea.
Well, I don't
Lovely.
think...
Goodbye, Liv.
Quill...
Bye.
Come on, Essa.
You can't come.
And why not?
I mean, for one, you and Abby aren't on speaking terms. 2, it's not something you'd enjoy.
Liv seemed to think it was a good idea. What are you going to talk about anyway?
It's just boring stuff. I'm sure you have better things to do.
What are you hiding from me?
What?
You're hiding something. I want to know what it is.
I'm not hiding anything.
Then why can't I come talk to Liv? It seemed like I was perfectly welcome. Plus, if it's anything to do with what's going on...
You don't have to know everything going on in our lives. Look, Abby, Liv, and I have been friends for a while. We have get-togethers and things. It's just something friends do. And I do consider you a friend. It's just... this isn't... I don't want to lie to you, but this isn't something I can tell you either.
Yeah, I understand. Sorry, that was rude of me to butt in like that. I shouldn't
It's fine. Have you been feeling okay?
Yeah? Why?
You've just been testy. It seems, I don't know, out of character for you.
I suppose I have been a bit snippy.
Try not to let this get to you too much, okay?
Okay, I'll try. You're right, of course. I probably have better things to do than barging in on your date.
It's not a date.
You sure? 'Cause it sounded like...
It's not a date, Quill.
Whatever you say.
How about some food? There's a good place right down the street.
This is Quill Taylor recording entry number 9, written on my 10th day in Moorgrove. Entry begins. I'm proud of myself. Yesterday, I actually managed to settle into my flat and stay home. I got 3,000 words of writing done, made a nice meal for dinner, and finally, my flat looks lived in. After a day at home, though, I was plenty ready to go back to the manor and get some work done in the other aspect of my life. The walk there was quite nice, and once again Ziander allowed me inside. This time, Abby wasn't in the library, but through one of the large windows, I spotted her in the vast gardens that sprawled from the back of the manor. She seemed quite immersed in her work, so I let her be, choosing instead to make use of the quiet room to take some notes down. My flat is across the street from the clock tower near the park, and I noticed yesterday that it didn't seem to be working. I brushed it off at first, but as the day went on, I decided to give it a bit more attention and at least bring it up with Abby since it'd been briefly mentioned on her list. I also made a note to talk to her about the caves I found. Turns out she'd known about them for a while and had just neglected to pay them much mind, but it was at the forefront of my mind as I was brainstorming. At some point, I grew bored and decided to walk around the manor a bit, stopping occasionally to peek into empty rooms that, while nicely furnished and dusted, still had clear signs of being long unoccupied. I recalled briefly that some others used to live here, and began to picture some faceless figures wandering the halls, perhaps finding somewhere to sit and read on a warm summer day. It was, in fact, a nice day. Many of the windows were open to let in a breeze. As I made my way to the kitchen on the second floor, the pleasant aroma of cooking and lavender drifted down the hall. As I peered into the kitchen, I saw Essa and Ziander working in different parts of the room. Essa seemed to be kneading some dough wearing a flour-covered apron, and her hair was pushed back with a small piece of fabric. Ziander looked exactly how I had last seen him, save for a simple white apron he had tied over his immaculate suit. To give him credit, his jacket was draped over a chair in the corner, and the sleeves of his white shirt were rolled up to his elbows. He appeared to be making something over the stove. Essa was chatting amiably as I walked in, Ziander occasionally making noises of acknowledgement. It seemed that they were comfortable with each other, and I nearly felt like I was interrupting something. Essa noticed me there fairly quickly, however, and somehow I managed to get roped into helping to make dinner. I'm not a good cook by any means, but Essa had me chop up some vegetables for stew while she made bread, and Ziander suggested that I help out with making chocolate-dipped strawberries for dessert. It struck me that, while I'd only known these people for a few days, they had already welcomed me as if I'd known them for weeks. After a while, as we began to clean up and wait for the food to be ready, Essa suggested we all get some fresh air. It had gotten quite hot in the kitchen, and although the sun was shining, the breeze from outside was incredibly tempting. Essa and I chatted as the three of us made our way out back, and while I had seen it out the window, there was nothing quite like standing on the wide brick patio overlooking a sprawling garden filled with flowers, fruit trees, and other assorted plants. Abby was near some of the peach trees now, but when she noticed us come out, she gave a small nod of acknowledgement before returning to her work. Essa and I sat casually on one of the stairs of the patio, while Ziander elected to water the potted plants that lined the edge of it. I asked Essa teasingly if he ever stopped working. She'd just given me a small smile and answered that no, he doesn't, but he enjoys what he does. At that, Ez looked over at us, and the smallest hint of a smile crossed his face. I left it at that, bringing up instead how I'd begun thinking about another way of recording my notes besides my journal. When I was younger, I owned a small tape recorder that I used as a diary. I mentioned to Essa that I'd like to record my journal entries on a tape recorder, just in case something were to happen to my journal, and if she knew if I'd be able to find one. She reiterated what Abby had said before, that technology doesn't quite work in town as it should. However, after a moment of clear disappointment, she told me that she knew someone who might be able to make one that would. Anthony wouldn't be home until dinner, so I elected to wait until then to ask him. Essa had already invited me to stay, so it wasn't completely out of my plans to do so. I had been surprised when Essa had told me that Anthony would be able to make me a recording device, but apparently he's savvy with technology. I found it hard to believe that a 10-year-old could make a device for me that had taken years to even come close to inventing. Despite my doubts, once dinner rolled around, I brought it up to him. At my request, his eyes seemed to light up as he told me he'd be happy to make me one, and began to ramble a bit about just how he'd do it. I caught Abby's eye then, and I'm not sure if I saw surprise or amusement on her face, perhaps a bit of both. Needless to say, I may be getting a recording device soon. Essa suggested that once it's finished, I should use it in the manor, as there's no telling how people react if they see it in town. It makes sense, so I'll take her advice. Abby has designated a quiet room on the first floor for my use, and I have to say it's quite a nice thing for her to do. I do hope this device will end up working. If so, I'll be able to record these entries easier, and perhaps reading these back and taking more notes will be beneficial to my research. Entry ends. These entries aren't productive anymore. There's nothing in here I can use. Maybe I'm just distracted. I can't stop thinking about Essa. Not in that way, she's not subtle. There's definitely something going on with her and Liv. And maybe Abby's involved? Well, Abby's already on my list of people I need to keep an eye on. Worse than that, I think Liv is in her own pattern. And today proved it. It seems like the only ones who aren't completely trapped by this are me, Essa, Ez, and Abby. However much she claims she's in her own pattern, I don't see it. Sure, she tends the garden every day, but you have to do that. Gardens require care, and if she watered plants all the same, a lot of them would die. She knows what she's doing every time she goes out there. I've been thinking a lot, and I just want to come to conclusions. And I think that the only way to do that is to find things out myself. If I go to the library tonight and they're just talking, I'm going to leave. I'll record over the tape and I'll pretend it never happened. But if there's something, anything important that they're keeping from me, I have to know. Recording ends. The Domestic Life of Anthony Todd is a podcast written and recorded by J.R. Steele and licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial Share-alike 4.0 international license. The audio is edited using Audacity, the free editing program. Thanks for joining me.